You're listening to Humans in Tech. Our podcast explores today's most transformative technology and the trends of tomorrow, bringing together the brightest minds in and outside of our industry. We unpack what's new in physical access, identity verification, cybersecurity, and IoT ecosystems. We reach beyond the physical world, discuss our digital transformation as a species, and dive into the emerging phygital experience. Join us on our journey as we discover just how connected the future will be and how we will fit into that picture. Your host is Lee Dow, VP of Global Marketing at Identiv.
Thanks for tuning in. This is a really fun one today. I'm joined by Evan Ferrante, better known as Not Tom Cruise. He's considered an exact voice match for the actor and is easily our favorite professional impersonator. Evan, I can't express how much fun we've had working with you and how much we enjoyed it. So thrilled to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Woo! I'm just so excited. Seriously, I just did a couch jump. You can't see it, but I did it 3 times. And I woke up this morning. I had my morning routine. Ran 10 miles and had some wheatgrass shots. But then I had a thought in my head. What I wanted to talk about today was digital transformation as a species, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So this is terrific. It's really aligned with everything I stand for.
So for those listeners who may not know, we teamed up with Evan at Identiv for a business-to-business product launch campaign that started back in June of 2021. And Not Tom Cruise was the wingman for our Velocity Vision launch, which is our real-time visual intelligence and end-to-end security platform. We did a 10-episode social campaign that really made waves in the physical security space, mostly because this space is very buttoned up. It usually isn't as playful in marketing approaches. And this month, the campaign actually took home a Finney's trophy at the B2B Marketing Exchange's Killer Content Awards for social amplification category. And I was really thrilled to be able to go pick that up for the team. And Evan, we definitely want to dedicate that award to you because you really brought it home.
Thank you. Yeah. I can't wait to celebrate with you all. We haven't set a date yet, but I'm excited that we were recognized, or the video was recognized, the campaign.
Yeah, it's awesome. So today I'd love for us to get behind the scenes about your really very creative approach to marketing yourself and partnering with some really cool clients.
Sure.
But let's start up, just with how you ended up on this really wild career path, and when did you officially become Not Tom Cruise?
Let me just go back to 1997. Jerry Maguire just came out, and I was in college. I was a freshman, Boston University, and you're looking to meet other freshmen and start socializing and build your friend group at that time. In the beginning, orientation time, and so I'm in a Howard Johnson's hotel because that's where they put Boston University freshmen who were late on our paperwork. It was kind of like a punishment, but it actually became like the greatest thing ever because they put us in this place as a punishment, but it turned out to be like heaven on earth because we would have no security. We could roll a keg up there. We had a very atypical kind of dorm scenario. There were 2 floors that were dedicated to freshmen, and the rest of it was a hotel. So we also had HBO, we had maid service. It was just, a dream.
I was going to say, living the dream, living the college dream.
It was. But at the same time, it wasn't as social of an environment because it wasn't your typical dorm. It really was like a hotel, and every door was kind of closed. It wasn't like open like a dormitory. So we had to go out of our way to kind of meet other students. And one of our approaches, my friend Alex Merkin, who is a director today in Hollywood, but we've remained friends for 20 years. He was he did a Jean-Claude Van Damme impression. And I didn't do a Tom Cruise at the time, but he recognized that I had the voice and the mannerisms, the energy, the charisma, the flashing, white smile, the 1,000,000-watt smile. And he said, I don't know how he came up with this, probably drinking one night, but we came up with this, a bit of an Abbott and Costello routine to meet other friends this way, primarily women, young women, freshmen, by knocking on dorm rooms and doing a Jean-Claude Van Damme and Tom Cruise kind of routine together, which we actually rehearsed. And, I threw in a bunch of lines from Jerry Maguire and from, maybe Risky Business a little bit, but it kind of went something like this. I mean, just my part. My part was, Dorothy Boyd, thank you. I'm looking for my wife tonight. Our company, our little project had a very big night, but it wasn't complete. It wasn't the vicinity of complete because I couldn't share it with you or hear the sound of your voice or see you smile. We live in a cynical world full of tough competitors. I love you. You complete me. And you see this coat I'm wearing. I don't need
That's a lot to bring on someone's doorstep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So 70% of the time we were welcomed in, and 30% the door slammed in our face. But it was worth the effort, and it was a great way to break the ice and make friends. And for the next 3 or 4 years of college, I just became known as like the cruise guy. But the point is, YouTube came about. My girlfriend said, "Why don't you put together like a little montage of Tom Cruise's performances and see what happens?" Because there's this new video platform, and you never know, like someone might see it who could, hire you. But I put it up on YouTube, and my video, I guess, went viral before viral was a thing, with no push at all from anybody. It was just, I guess, first out of the gate kind of, advantage. But people liked it a lot, and it got kind of, people started to take notice on the West Coast too, like, agencies, and I started getting interest in hiring me from certain brands, and also just sketch comedy work. That's kind of how it started. Inserting my cruise persona, which is like a heightened version of Cruise, putting him into different scenarios that are day in life or fun and playful things, relatable scenarios. And that's kind of how it all started, with a bunch of viral videos and the advent of YouTube and Funny or Die. Yeah.
Well, I should probably explain to you how this relationship started. So I was looking for something to do that was creative and different in this space. Like I said, the security industry, by and large, is very buttoned up, and it's a very serious product. It's very serious applications. And but I wanted to do something on social media that would really capture people's attention and would make them stop scrolling and say, well, what is that? And so I started doing some research, because the Velocity Vision product is video surveillance and video management systems. And so, we started playing around with the Mission Impossible concept and theme. And I was looking for just creative ways to express that with the team. And I one night was looking through a lot of different avenues, and I came across you on Cameo. And yes. I when I saw it, I remember thinking to myself, wait a minute, I know I've seen this guy somewhere before. And it was the Funny or Die videos. And then I remembered, wait, I've seen him also on TikTok. So I went out to TikTok and I looked at, your account there, which is hilarious. And I was like, oh gosh, this would be so great. I wonder if he would even consider working with us. And that's when I reached out to you. And what I learned in looking at like all your videos and stuff is that, like I said, originally we were going down this Mission Impossible theme, but with, maybe perhaps you playing like an Ethan Hunt style character. But really what we thought it was funniest and just the most entertaining and engaging is when you're, being not Tom Cruise, when you're like doing the things that he does in his everyday life and his mannerisms and the way that he speaks and carries himself.
I've always worked with companies, corporations, small companies, charities who are looking to harness that kind of energy and excitement and levity that my Cruise persona brings to the table, to promote their brands or to, rally the sales force or whatever, you name it.
Well, so speaking of that energy, just when we filmed those spots with you, watching you, bring that big energy. Like 1 minute we're talking to Evan, and then, you go get in the right headspace. You put the jacket on, put the glasses on, and then you return like as the man himself. I mean, it was so hard to film those videos because the script is very like playful too. It was very hard to film those without like hearing us laughing,
Yeah.
all over it. But like, how do you get in
Yeah.
that headspace and do that over and over again with that transformation?
Well, so typically, I got to be on or turn on that light switch essentially for about 30 seconds to 2 minutes at a time before the director yells cut, or my bit might be up to 5 minutes, which is a long time to be fully Tom Cruise. So Evan Ferrante, even though I've tried to work on my energy and sustainable energy in my life, I'm not like that. I am not like Cruise in that regard. I aspire to be. I just don't have it in me though to sustain that all day. So when it comes to performing with that high octane kind of energy, I really do channel it from the ether, and basically just fill that role I just step into it. And I know that, I might be exhausted afterwards, but I know that in that 30 seconds to 2 minutes, I'm just going to give it my all. So I really do try to give it my all, and then I deal with the consequences after.
Well, that intensity, right, that he brings, when
Yeah.
you see him do an interview, or when you read about the way he prepares for a film, or what he's like when he's on the film set. I mean, he just radiates that kind of intensity, which is, really difficult to match that kind of energy level consistently.
Yeah, it is. I definitely can attest to that. Yeah.
Are you able to share your story about the time you met Tom Cruise himself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So essentially, I'm at the Chateau Marmont. I used to go there, when I could afford it to get a, one meal or a dessert or whatever drink, but I wasn't really in a position to splurge at that time, but I definitely liked to entertain there with some friends, and I had a girlfriend there that night. But what happened was, I heard, it's a small world in Hollywood. I know a lot of people in this town, and there was a guy I know, an attorney, who was having dinner in one of the corners of the garden of the chateau, and he beckons me over and he says, "I heard a rumor," because he knew what I did. He knew I was an impersonator. He's like, "I heard a rumor that Cruise is here, right now." I look all around the room. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't find him. I couldn't see him. I even went to the bathroom, believe it or not. I looked all over. I looked under the stall. He wasn't there. Yeah. So I came back to my seat. I told my friends, I was like, "Look, I heard Cruise is here, but maybe he left." And then all of a sudden I feel like a presence next to me, like to the left of me. And he's there having dinner on a long table with Jeremy Renner, some people from The Office, Zero Dark 30, like a random Hollywood crowd. And I thought it'd be a cool gesture to commemorate our meeting, to send him a bottle of champagne. And I had the waiter come by, and I asked him, and he shot me down immediately, said, "No, there's no way you can do that." He whispered to me, he's like, I'll be fired, and you'll be banned if you approach Cruise." So I was like, okay, I guess that's that. And my girlfriend at the time was like, "There's no way in hell you're leaving here tonight without meeting him." As the night winds down, everyone leaves, and Tom Cruise and his party make their way out. And I'm having final, last call drinks with my friend Jimmy in the garden. And it's just us. And I'm a little tipsy. My girlfriend had excused herself to go to the bathroom. So it's 2 a.m. and all of a sudden my phone died. So Jimmy gets a call saying, and he says to me, after listening to it, he says, "Tom Cruise is waiting for you at the valet."
No way.
I said, "What are you talking about?"
He's waiting
I said,
for
"No
you.
way." I said, "Come on." And he said, "Tom Cruise is waiting for you at the valet." That he just, doesn't even flinch. He just doesn't smile, doesn't laugh. He seriously tells me this again. And I get up out of my chair and I sprint to the valet, and he's there with Jeremy Renner right behind him, about to get on his motorcycle. And he waited for me. And my girlfriend had stopped to talk to him, probably about growing up in a war zone. And he was thoroughly enthralled by her stories. And she, I owe it to her that she kept him there, but it was just an amazing moment. It was like slow motion. We fell in love very intimate. He said, "You complete me," back and forth. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember you telling me that he was just super nice, like just a great conversation. Probably
really
a little
like,
of an out of body experience, but
it was. Yeah, totally. Or an ayahuasca experience. It was just crazy.
There you go.
Like, or peyote. It was like a 3-day trip.
Oh,
But
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a wild, surreal experience. I don't think I went to bed that night. The only time in my life, I think there's maybe, other than like having this amazing night with a girl and feeling those like butterflies and not going to sleep for a long time, just being, like totally overtaken by that feeling. The only time where it reminds me of this, where I didn't go to sleep the first night, was when I was in musical theater growing up, and at 15 years old, I was very fortunate, but I did this myself too. I booked a very cool gig with Yoko Ono. So Yoko Ono hired me to be in an autobiographical story about John Lennon and her. And it was off Broadway on 23rd Street in New York. And I was one of 9 cast members. I was 15. And I didn't go to sleep one night because she invited me, because of all these snowstorms that year in 1993. She invited me to stay at the Dakota, which is where she lived with John and still lives. And I stayed there for 10 days because there were so many snowstorms, and I slept in John Lennon's bed.
Oh, wow.
I played the white piano that he wrote Imagine on. I held his Grammy. I saw his Sgt. Pepper uniforms up close. And I had snowball fights in Central Park with her and Sean Lennon. And Sean Lennon taught me French.
Wow,
So
what a privilege! Just to be, inside that world.
I also heard some of the Beatles songs that were released that year, 7 months in advance or 6 months in advance, before they were released to the public. There were these new songs, "Free as a Bird" and something else. It was just like the greatest experience. Like one over a week. I call it my week with Yoko, but it was. Well, I mean, I did the whole show with her too, but it was like an intimate week of having lox and bagels with her every morning, and it was just like I was part of the family. It was crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I wrote my college essay about it, but that was the only night in my life, other than meeting Tom Cruise, where I didn't sleep a wink.
Yeah, I bet. So something interesting that we really noticed almost at the same moment we launched our campaign together were those viral, not Tom Cruise deep fake videos that you did. And I'm sure people were asking for your comments on it at the time. It's so different from what you usually do. Do you want to talk about, how you started using that and just being more playful with it, and,
Sure.
how that deep fake thing is just really like, so, people were really fooled.
Sure. Well, with any new technology or a technology that is new to the masses, there's always going to be a gullibility factor involved. And regardless of, even if you put a disclaimer on it or it's clearly sketch comedy, there are some people who will be fooled by it. Most people, I would say, weren't fooled by it, but thought it was just funny. And essentially, for me, it was just a fun way to explore impersonating Tom Cruise in a playful, non-threatening approach. Now, there are many uses of deepfake that I don't approve of, including the recent Cruise deepfakes that have gone viral with another impersonator. But that's simply because they don't use disclaimers, and they in the beginning, before the press came out, they really just tried to fool people. And I never try to fool people. I never try to be deceiving at all. I clearly tell people up front that this is a ridiculous premise and it's totally sketch comedy. So like an SNL sketch.
I like that you think about it that way because, when I look at your videos, they, to me, seem like a homage to this like really big personality that everyone, knows, the presence of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
And then I'm also cognizant of the fact that deepfake is currently being used for nefarious means in politics and to, manipulate the masses in really dangerous ways with, Ukraine and Russia and Putin and Zelensky and all of that. And it will only get worse. And I think it's important. Part of the reason why I did it in a playful way, other than thinking this was like a fun tool to use, was to let people know that this technology exists and they should be wary of it. Because some people just still don't know. Even if you know about it and know that it's being used, you'll know what to look out for and be more skeptical.
Well, one of the things that we really focus on, is how we basically verify identities. And and that's why it was so fun to work on, these campaigns with you, where it's really talking about identity and, whether it's a stolen identity or a, in your case, a more of a tribute to someone's identity. How do we continuously, as we move more and more into a digital world, how do we, and that blend is happening between the physical and digital space, how do we, verify when you're in the digital world that you are who you say you are, and that your purpose is not nefarious. Well,
I got to say, what you're describing, we did a fun campaign that was more playful and elevated, heightened. But if you wanted to do a really effective campaign with deepfake that could exemplify all of the security measures you implement, I think that would do extremely well and be very effective as like a PSA, but it would also promote your technology.
Oh, I love that idea.
And it's certainly possible. I just might need a new wig to make it a little more effective, but that's easy to come by. But I know that's a great way, especially if you make it very clear, because there have been a lot of PSAs with deepfake that have been used with like Obama or, just to show people like that this exists and it could be, you got to keep your wits about you.
Well, I really appreciate you calling in today, not just because I get such a kick out of hearing your voice, but I just had, it was such a pleasure to work with you.
Likewise.
Yeah, it was really fun. I know we'll probably find ways to do that again in the future. And I just love that, in your craft, that you are also an early adopter of technology and, learning how to use it and carving, a path for how to use new technologies as you continue to hone your craft. So,
I'll always be on the lookout for any way I can amplify my performance or, interaction with my audience. And I'll try it out at least once. And if it works, I'll rinse and repeat. But always open. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
The problem isn't security, it's awareness. Velocity Vision is the future of visual surveillance, an intelligent video management solution that delivers real-time situational awareness in an open security platform. Integrate with your existing systems, verify your environment in one pane of glass, and increase the efficiency of your security operation. Get full control of your environment when and where you need it. Learn more at identiv.com. Physical security, identity verification, the IoT. The hyperconnectivity of our lives will only grow more pervasive. As technology becomes more automated and experiences more augmented, it's up to us to preserve our humanity and use new tools and trends for good. The only question is, are we up for the challenge?